Hello, class. I hope you are keeping well. I wanted to touch base about your final research project. As many of you know, I have posted your brief outline, so I will just pull that up. And it's worth 5% of your mark, and this is essentially a participation mark. So as long as you do it, you will get 5%. Don't worry if, I have feedback about your research question or you end up finding different academic sources down the road. This is really just to show me that you have done a brief brainstorm, that you have been thinking about your upcoming project due later in the semester. So when I ask for a title, it's essentially, a working title. So whatever catchy title you think or informative title will represent your project. Your topic is your general topic. So, whatever more broadly you're looking into, that is the topic, whereas the research question is something much more specific. The research question dives into asking about different dimensions or factors connected to your broader topic. So I'll give you some examples. If we're thinking about climate change, maybe climate change is our topic, and our research question ends up being, how are food industries in North America impacted by climate change? This is something much more specific, and you're asking about a couple different factors. That's an example of a topic and a research question. And then an academic source. So when we talk about an academic source, we know that we need it to be peer-reviewed. We know that we need it to be something from, a scientist, a professor, a doctor, someone who has this academic scientific background, and they've gone through an institution and gotten ethical approval. It's the highest quality of research, essentially, that we have is when it is an academic peer-reviewed source. So hopefully you've all gone through the Research Project Hub at this point, and you would have read the document, what makes an academic source. And if you've read over that, you should have a sense of what I'm talking about here. If you've not had time to go through the Research Project Hub, this is the time to do it, because all of those resources help you to understand what this project entails. So this brief outline is due in week 10 on the Sunday at 11:59 p.m. And again, don't worry if something changes for the final project. This is just a stepping stone to show me that you're thinking through your title, your topic, and what your main research question will be. Now, a research question is something that you have to be able to research. So this is not just, an informational project. It is something that you've taken the time to research, you've engaged in the debate, you've looked at different perspectives on the topic. That's essentially what research is. You're researching your topic, you're looking into the question that you've asked. And clearly, what's important when we're thinking about research is having a good research question. So I've created this guide to help you decide if your research question is strong or how to create one that works well. So research questions should be clear. You really want that clarity of what the purpose is of what you're asking. It should be focused. And that means it needs to be narrow enough that it is researchable. If I want to look into the criminal justice system in Canada, that's a really broad topic. So I would need to focus my research question quite a bit more. Maybe my research question becomes, what are the specific laws that came about in the 2000s, and how are they different from past laws, a comparative study there. I'm looking at a particular time, I'm looking at a particular part of the criminal justice system, as opposed to this really broad topic, criminal justice system. That's just off the top of my head. You want it to be concise, so as few of words as possible. How has the food industry been impacted by climate change? ? Let me think. I'm thinking of all the different courses I teach. What about food? Are GMOs a safe form of food in contemporary society? ? Let me think of criminal justice. How do gender and crime interact in criminology? ? Okay, so those are clear and concise research questions that are comparing different factors or different dimensions, and that you're going to go and try and answer that question. So complex means it doesn't have to be long-winded. It doesn't have to be so difficult that people don't understand what you're talking about, but it means it shouldn't be a yes or no answer. Like, is the criminal justice system fair? Like, that's, kind of a yes or no question, or it could be a yes or no question. Is climate change bad? That's just going to be a little bit too simple. So you really want it to be a compare and contrast kind of question. And then when I say it's arguable, its potential answers are open to debate rather than accepted facts. So you don't want a research question that everybody already knows the answer to. You want it to be something that is relevant, that it's contemporary, that it matters. And in order for it to, not be something that's already found its final facts about it, it has to be open to debate. So whether you're strongly rooted on one side of the debate, that's fine. We all have our own critical lens to understand data and facts, but it's important that there be some level of debate about it, and so that you can look at both sides, and that's really being able to critically reflect. So why is a research question essential to the research project? Research questions help writers focus their research by providing a path through the research and the writing process. The specificity of a well-developed research question helps writers avoid the all-about paper and work towards something more specific and arguable. And the all-about paper, I would say, is really when you're just kind of going in all different directions and you're trying to share as much information as you can find on that topic. That's definitely more informational. So part of being a Fanshawe College student is learning to do research. Myself, coming to the end of my PhD, I was doing so much different types of research, and it was a skill that I really needed to know. And you might need to know it for your future jobs. As a Fanshawe College professor, I might need to be able to research on, things that impact students, policies, practices, be able to research for new courses that I develop. So don't be surprised if you enter a field that you think, well, I don't know that I'll ever have to research. And in fact, you do have to research, whether it's construction engineer management, child and youth work, nutrition, nursing, you name it, you probably will have to be up to date on current topics, and your manager or boss may ask you to research a particular topic and come up with a report, a poster, or a presentation to share at a meeting, or to give that person so that they can be better advised on any particular issues that matter in your field at that time. So you are developing this skill set at Fanshawe, which is why, you're kind of probably learning just what research is and how to do research. And perhaps you've done it in other courses, or perhaps this is your first course where it asks you to do it, but it is one of the cornerstones of an education here at Fanshawe. So take your time to think through, what these research questions mean and how to do research in a way that's not just writing an all about, informational a piece of information for your professor. And once you come up with your question, even though sometimes deciding the exact nature of your question can be complicated, you probably have to go online and see what you're interested in, and maybe even find a general article on this topic or a peer-reviewed source. Maybe look up some statistics. And then once you've kind of done that brainstorm, you can start to think, oh yeah, it is food and climate change that I'm interested in, or it is this new technology that I want to see how it works, or it is my interest in the history of criminal laws and how what their impact is on society. I'm drawing from, all these broad social science courses that I teach and have done research in. There's always something interesting to research. So pick something that, is, something that you'll find engaging and that you won't get bored of when you're looking into the topic. Okay, so that's how you begin a research question. And remember, this is just a short research question. This document is really to help you figure out, oh, what is a research question and how do I create a good one? And you do so by following these tips. So like I said, the brief research poster outline, it doesn't have to exactly match what you submit for your final research project, but it should be a sign that you're starting to think about these different elements. And then it's basically pass or fail. So if you do it, you get 5% if you fill out those 4 things. And it's honestly just a sentence each. The academic source, if you put it there and you haven't properly referenced it, that's okay. I'll be looking for the proper reference citations in the final project, your reference page at the end, wherever you put it. Okay, so next, how do I use Fanshaw's digital library? And I have kind of provided how-to guides online, but I'm just going to walk you through it. Hopefully I am still just going to walk you through it here. So we head over to the digital library from the resources section, and we click on it. And once we're in the digital library, I just want to make a note that you can ask on, you can live chat with library staff, or you can even text them. So let's say you're having a hard time finding your academic article on whatever topic you have, text the librarian and say, hey, can you help me out with some search words or an article? Just like you would if you were physically in the library. Once you're in Fanshaw's Library Learning Commons, come on over to Digital Resources and Books. And here is where I go to databases. I click on databases, and databases are essentially large online databases that contain tons and tons of journals, and within those journals, articles from across the globe, be it, a university in Accra, Ghana, to one in El Salvador, in San Salvador, the capital, to Harvard in the US. You're getting all of these academic articles that end up in academic journals that are accessible internationally through these databases. So, whether it's researching for this topic or your mom says, hey, I want you to find out about the latest, and she's got some sort of question, you can go on here as a Fanshawe student for free. These databases cost a lot of money for the colleges and universities to pay for. And interestingly, I think JSTOR, which is one of my favorite databases, is the most costly. And I don't know if I heard this somewhere, but I think I heard that, colleges can pay up to $10,000 a year to access this JSTOR database. So you go to J for JSTOR, and JSTOR is multidisciplinary. And I find, especially for the social sciences and gen ed courses, it has a breadth of information. It has a breadth of academic articles. So here I am. When you're looking on the digital library, it does not help to write an entire sentence. So if you're like, what does the criminal justice system and drug laws have in common? That would just be so long-winded, it wouldn't pick anything up. But let's say I wanted to maybe look into a topic that's relevant today. So let's say, let me think. Okay, crime and poverty. So how are crime and poverty linked? So I've just done search words, and that's what you want to fill in here. Crime and poverty. And I'm going to add one more search word, and youth. And then I'm going to go submit advanced result and see what comes up. So I have almost 50,000 academic peer-reviewed sources that have come up. You can see here, you can download the PDF. And if you just want to look at what the little abstract says about it, you can go right there. So inequality and crime. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to do a different topic to show you how easy this is. This is your academic source. So don't be overwhelmed by doing academic research, because it's really quite straightforward when you know how to use the digital library. So I'm going to look at farming and North America, and oops, that's not spelled right. And organic. And then I'm going to submit advanced search and see how I'm kind of looking into different topics and connecting them. So I came up with a particular part of the world. So that's a region. So if you want to, your research project, you want it to be about a particular region, then you can put that region in. I said farming, but now I'm going a bit more specific. So I get a certain type of result, which is organic. And here we go. And so you're coming up with tons and tons of articles on this topic. Trying to think. Okay, let me think. I'm going to go with a particular type of diet: vegan, diet, and health. I'm going to add in another search, a population of people and adults, and then I'm going to go submit advanced search. Okay, a little bit fewer on that particular one, but still nearly 500 articles for you to pull from. This is how I do academic research, and these are some of the topics I'm interested in. My most recent research focused on midwifery care. So I'm going to do something here: midwifery care, and rural and remote, because midwives can work in any locale, and they can also do home births. They're primary care practitioners paid to do home births and insured. So they are an amazing form of quality of care that people can get who live in otherwise rural and remote regions. So let's see what comes up here. Now, I've also showed you that this JSTOR can cover a breadth of material, because I've just kind of gone into all these different research areas and fields that are unrelated, yet JSTOR has something on all of them. So definitely when you're doing your research, come on over here to resources, then to the digital library, click on digital library, you come back, you're at the digital library, and I was showing you before, books and digital resources, click on databases. The other database I really like is called ProQuest, and it's especially good if you're in a health related field or you're interested in health related matters, which honestly, climate change, nutrition, criminology, they can all impact health. So this one is very midwifery, obviously. This one is very useful for anything kind of health related. So ProQuest. Now, if you're in business, or you're an estimator, or you're an urban planner, a nutritionist, perhaps there's other databases that are more connected to your field. Because I'm a social scientist, these are the ones that I flagged for my courses, but definitely find out from your program coordinators. Maybe there's something of even more interest to you in these databases, but these are the ones I'm talking about. So I'm going to pull up something that's, maybe I like to play hockey, and I'm a teenager, and I have asthma, and I come on here and I want to see what kind of health related articles pop up for these topics, and see how I've used the search words again. And I just use the word "and" in between in order to show that those are search words. So quite a few articles have come up about asthma, and really you could research any topic. Maybe this is a little bit too specific, so I'm going to take out the teenager part, and I'm just going to go hockey and asthma and see what comes up. So I've quadrupled my results by just taking out that one key search word. Here we go. I'm going to try something else. Just go with, let's see, nutrition and exercise. So, beyond this research project, now that you know how to use this site, remember, you could be getting cutting edge academic articles that are scientific, that had to go through review processes by other scientists or scholars, that are ethical. This is like, top quality research. So if there's anything you're interested in, you could be looking up, nutrition plans. This is stuff coming from leading colleges and universities across the globe. So there you have it. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful. And again, I will just flag, lean on the librarians. That is their job, to help students right over here. Chat with library staff. So here is where you're going to find your academic sources. You may only use one, maybe two, and then it could be Stats Canada, then it could be the World Health Organization, then it's, reputable sources like CBC News, Toronto Star, BBC, depending on, what news articles that you read from local or global news producers. Those all count as reputable sources. statistics. What you want to avoid is Wikipedia, Twitter, random blogs online that are just not rooted in anything that would have had to go through, a critical check and balance. But the CBC News and Toronto Star have editors looking over things. They can't just publish anything. However, these sources, Stats Canada, World Health Organization, organizations that promote certain types of things, they are not academic in nature. So while you can use them to build up your information and your research, it's important to also complement those sources with an academic source. Okay. All right. So I think that's it for today. Let me see here. Yep, I think that's it. So I will be posting this and I hope you find it helpful. Talk soon.